Welcome to the regular meeting of the Timberlane Budget Committee. It is December, 11th already. I'll call the meeting to order. We'll postpone the roll call until the secretary comes in, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Julie, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have we got Mike yet? No Mike?
Is he in or no? He hasn't dialed in.
I haven't seen any connectivity yet.
All right, let's move on. He'll jump in if he can. We do have a quorum, but approval of the minutes from November 21st, they should be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Hi.
Thank you.
I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make
Liz?
that motion.
Liz has got them on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second. Second.
Sierra? Questions, concerns, corrections? This was a lengthy meeting with a lot of minutes, so. I didn't notice any mistakes, but when I looked at them earlier, but it's good. Anything you want to add? Not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? 4, opposed? 0, abstaining? 2. 4-0-2. Let's go back, Heather, if you can, and go back to roll call. Have you take attendance, please, for the record?
Alright, Steve Sherman,
Yes.
Michael Mascola,
Mackie.
Sabrina Alberg, Sarah Dolce,
Dulcie.
Dulce, sorry.
It's okay.
Liz Costa.
Here.
Catherine Consalvo, Julie Hammond,
Here.
Mark Sherwood, Karen White. Here. Crispy O'Clair.
Here.
So we do have a quorum without Mike, but just keep your eye there, see if he does check in with us, Dean. Okay, any correspondence that anyone's received? Any delegations and individuals? Doesn't look like it. Discussion of last meeting? Anything anyone wants to bring up from last meeting? Or any meeting? Okay, we'll go to the administrative report. Should be the superintendent, sir?
Thank you. Just a couple things to share is at our board meetings, we've been having a student, staff, and family share as kind of a standing kind of pre-agenda item. We've also been able to incorporate, typically agenda item A is around kids, either coming with staff and just talking about some of the unique and acute learning things they're doing. So because we're collecting all that stuff and housing it, we're gonna start clipping it and we're gonna start sharing that with the entire Timberlane Regional Community staff so they can see all the great stuff. So that's been in front of the board, but also for people watching and listening at home, we do encourage you, if you're gonna tune into the board meeting or thinking about it, if you wanted to get to that beginning section of it, there's lots of good opportunities for you to learn about the really cool things that are going on in Timberlane schools. So please do tune in. A little bit something from the past, Sue, you alluded to it. There's a huge music event here in Timberlane on Sunday. I've never been a part of anything like that before. It was truly a day event. And it had all the formality of like a music concert, but the informality of a community event where people coming and going as they chose. So I was really impressed, super popular. I thought the feedback from the parents that I talked to were really great. But just to be allowing kids an opportunity to perform, which is really what we want kids to do for learning, I think this is an awesome event for us. And the third thing to share are just some dates. We're going to be putting out some community information to all folks that live in our 4 towns about some key dates coming up. The 3 most important things are the public hearing on January 11th, the deliberative session on February 8th, and district voting day on March 12th. So we want to be advertising those to the entire community, so please be looking for a pretty little postcard from the Timberlane Regional School District outlining those dates for you. Mark your calendars. We hope that you participate in all 3. That's it for me tonight, Sue.
Thanks. Moving on to reports from the committee. Yes, I was there at the music event yesterday. It was a joyous, very celebratory series of amazing kids. A lot of kids performing. It was festive, and they had bake sale and raffles, and
It's a great event.
it just was great fun. It really made a lot of people smile. There were a lot of grandparents there, which was nice because it was a Sunday, and so there were people that had traveled from the distance to come and see their grandkids, so that was really good. So, anything from the committee? If not, we're gonna go to our discussion. The point of our meeting tonight is to discuss the tasks that we gave to the administrators to look at removing 2.5 million from the proposed budget. And you'll see you have a document showing that work that they have done for our perusal, and I hope we have a good discussion here and can make some decisions tonight. We still have a couple of more possible dates that we could make decisions on, but it's getting down to it now. I'm sorry, we have fewer members here tonight to make this decision, but that's what it is, and we're here to do that, so. Who's gonna take the lead in just talking about this?
I'd be happy to talk to the
Okay.
group about it for sure. I think 2 things to start before I actually start talking about items on the list is, one, just to give the committee an idea of kind of the philosophy with which we attacked that task. We really thought about 3 things, and these are the same 3 things I presented to our staff when we fully opened the year together. We are looking for items, or at least perusing items, that are around safety, that are around connection and belonging for kids, because both of those things lead to number 3, high levels of student learning. So that's kind of the lens that we kind of went through this exercise with. I want to share a little bit about the process that we went through. So when we had the charge, we met initially as a senior leadership team all together in the same space with that philosophy about wanting to limit the impact of things that would provide unsafe things for kids, or disconnection from kids, or non-high levels of learning, and had a brainstorming session that was really productive there. And Maria was able to kind of set the stage with some things for us to consider, so that was a good session. From there, I then met individually with directors, some of them 2 or 3 different times, kind of some follow-up conversations. And I was also meeting with Maria kind of on the side individually, giving her feedback about what I was learning and hearing through those conversations. Maria and I had a culminating conversation today where we got to the point where we felt good about this. But also with Sandy Allaire, I also sat with her and kind of had some, finalizing thoughts about it. And the result of that is kind of what you see in front of you here. So it looks simplified, and that's purposeful. And let me walk you through what we believe some of these colors represent as you do some thinking here as a budget committee. The first series of things are there in blue. All of those items share a couple of common things together. One, and the most important to share with you, is that it's our determination as an administrative team, if these pieces would leave the proposed budget, they would not have an adverse impact on safety, connection or belonging, or learning. They're there for a variety of reasons. Some of them are simply us going back and looking at actuals a little bit more closely over the years and shaving some off of the proposed budget line. Some of those are directors giving a deeper analysis in terms of the number of students that they may need to serve, or any changes in student needs over times, or any changes in student needs of their projected over time. The third, and I'll get to this when we talk about the high school piece specifically, are some changes to state law and practice that is to our benefit. And the last one is that there could have been some redundancy of some of these measures in other areas of the budget. Okay. So talking about all those three things, that brings us to about 1.32 of things, again, we could safely say are not gonna have that adverse impact of those three key areas that I highlighted. The big one in blue that I'll draw your attention to is the special education high school private tuition, and then the elementary and also some of the middle school tuitions there. There has been some very recent changes at the state level as late as June that the DOE just rolled out in September and October that we're just now trying to get our heads around and learn from these pieces. Essentially what it says is that if a student is placed in a residential setting, not as a result of any school decisions that were made but by a community event that occurred. Now the school districts can have some support for those costs. So the Department of Health and Human Services is picking up the cost of those students for the residential piece of their stay. And the Department of Education is now funding the academic piece of their stay. Those two costs are no longer obligated to be picked up by the school district. So that is not, I want to be very clear, not every special education student that impacts. These are students that are placed residentially, but the impetus for that placement was something that happened outside of the school setting in a community setting. So we had projected that we were going to need to be able to fund those pieces. What we have learned is that we do not. So that's why we can reduce the budget line by a great deal, particularly in the high school, but also in the middle school, the elementary areas as well.
When did that go into effect?
This summer, where things were new, there was some rollout in terms of some advisories about how for us to interpret that in September and October. And Kelly Brooks is now just kind of getting together with other directors and saying, so what really does that mean for us, being able to get people on the phone and have them 100% commit to us that these are not gonna be obligated costs to us anymore. Whereas even as of 10 days ago, we didn't have that 100% certainty.
What is a community event? Can you explain what
Sure.
that means?
Something happens at the supermarket, a movie theater, somebody's house, and there's a mental health crisis team that responds to that event.
Got it, okay.
Or it could be a series of events that go on, but eventually there's an organization, a health and human service organization making a determination that that child cannot be in the home for safety reasons.
Fair.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, so that,
Those are the pieces in blue.
that's the sections in blue, and that would amount to about 1.3 million.
$1.32 million, correct?
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
That would hold true for elementary and middle school as well?
Any residential, yes, any
okay.
residentially placed students that are a result of a community event.
Alright, so you have special ed middle school tuition LEA general. Is that outside placements that we need to place?
Yes,
Okay,
but not through the special education necessarily decision making.
okay,
That's also now represented in some of the other parts of our budget. If you remember when Ginger Drexel was here,
Yeah.
the student services director, there's some money that we had put in there in terms of best interest or manifest educational hardship decisions, which would allow us to be able to place students either within our district or sometimes partnering with other districts that may be able to better meet that student's needs.
You ready for him to move on to the next section?
I have one more question, I'm
Let's go,
sorry.
go. No, that's
The-
fine.
The TTA professional staff coverage, who would that be? It looks like it's a position.
Yeah, and what I think what we learned is that that's a little bit of a redundancy. So that is specific to an MOU where we were reimbursing our own staff when we were short-staffed.
Okay.
Either be teaching that class or taking some students onto their caseload.
Okay.
It's at a much less rate than what we would be paying for a contracted service or anything like that. There's also the ability to pull from the salary lines for that, also the substitute line. So
Alright,
we felt like there was some space there. Narrow space, but some space.
I understand, thank you.
Okay, in the blue section,
Okay, so that's us in blue. Move into that next section, that capital improvement is listed there at $500,000. Again, and this is, I think that the committee wanted us to look at some prioritization in terms of needs, so that blue is number one. Then we would move to the second piece in terms of capital improvements. You can make an argument that there is not a direct impact for safety, connection, belonging, and learning with that because it's projected. We don't necessarily know what is gonna happen there. But we felt that that would be the next place that we would wanna look at that level. Then we would move down to the next two lines that are directly linked to safety in terms of upgrades for intercom, in terms of the ability for us to communicate well with each other in our phone systems. Then you're into the second tier there in a smaller red. Those are instructional materials for teachers, but also for students. There's a direct connection to learning there, and those are priced out at those dollar figures. We would put them next on the priority list. And then lastly, you are with new positions. Those are people. Those positions include the new positions that we brought before you in the other individual budget presentations that you have seen, ESOL is in there, social workers, some campus security people. And because they're people, we're making that determination that they are connected to all three of those things. They are the folks that are gonna help keep kids safe. They are the ones that are making kids get connected and belong. And they're the ones executing the learning activities in the classroom. And that's at a tune of about $430,000, and we would place that at the lowest priority in terms of as you consider to get to that $2.5 million number.
So are we eliminating the phone upgrade system and the intercom system completely?
No.
As part of this this was just an exercise that the budget committee tasked us to come up with some things that could be adjusted in the budget that are
But this
more-
is an adjustment, not an elimination.
No.
Right, it's not an elimination.
So we'll still see intercom systems outside of the school, right? Where we can make out if it's cause it was concerning to me when they said, we can't even tell if it's a male or female at the intercom outside of the school.
You mean the cameras?
The
When you
cameras
plug
outside of
yourself
the
in.
school, is that what we're talking about, or is this something different?
That intercom system is, yes, is
That's
that
part
the
of
door
that.
intercom, that little screen that I have at my desk that I can see who it is. Yes, that's that
You
intercom
guys are
system, which
comfortable cutting something like that?
Well,
Well,
we tasked them with coming up with 2.5.
Yep.
We can just say, okay, cut them all. We can
Right.
say, we don't like any of this. We can say, take this and this, but not this.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do tonight. Not, again, not just say, okay, let's just go back to the original budget, unless that's what you wanna do.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking the question.
And for the things that we wanted to bring to you, we wanted to be sure we clearly identified what they're attached to.
Right.
Whether it's attached to safety, whether it's attached to connection and belonging for kids, or whether it's attached to pieces that we think will have an impact on learning.
Well, I'm not particularly crazy personally about taking out any of the intercom system stuff, any of that in upgrade, nor am I particularly interested in getting rid of any of those new positions. Having worked with capital improvement and having worked with a CIP, a $500,000 cut there is not gonna kill the program. It's less impactful than, certainly don't wanna reduce positions.
Regarding the new positions, I mean, I felt like 2 social workers at $100K apiece. That's a really high salary for a social worker in this area. What about a more average social worker salary and maybe 1 social worker? You know what I'm saying? Sierra's mom was a social worker. She retired after how many years of work?
Yeah, 40, 45.
How much was she making per year?
I think she ended at 69. So that's where.
so the 100,000 is with benefits
With the
included.
benefit package, it's
They are part
everything.
of the teachers'
Because it
union,
goes into
so
the
we
union.
don't have a flexibility. Most of them have they're required to have a master's,
master's.
right? So they will fall under the master's category. I think the salary itself is 72,000.
they have to be licensed as
That's a
well.
master's with
If there's a
15 years.
need,
additional
are
license.
zero
Yeah.
social worker, I mean, zero social work, 1 social worker is better than 0 social workers, right?
Yes.
So-
Long term, we're trying to build to a situation where
Maybe
we've
we
got-
scaffold that a little bit, you know what I mean? We step into that one at a time.
But again, that's not our decision to make. We don't
Right.
scaffold.
It's just a conversation though.
That's the school board's decision to
Right.
make whether but we're either supporting the money for those positions or we're not, whether it's 2 or 14 social workers.
Can
I
you
get
list,
what you're saying, but that's not our level of
it's not a purview.
purview.
I understand that, but I mean, if you're looking to reduce positions, maybe you don't have to reduce this many
So
positions.
that's where I'm confused. So if
It's not all, it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
That's my,
No.
okay, cause like
Yeah.
new positions, there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of positions that were
Sure.
listed under there, I think. Based on discussions that we had, two security people who only really have a walkie-talkie and a whistle. I don't know how comfortable I feel having that in there either. But I get that that falls completely under safety, like I'm looking at safety, connection with kids and learning. But I don't consider that to be safety when that person just has a whistle and a walkie-talkie. So like, can we divide, like, can we, these new positions that are in here, what is under our purview? What are we allowed to?
The money,
Just,
the money.
Okay.
So you could say,
Okay.
no, we don't wanna cut, we wanna cut up from that, whatever
So-
the figure is, 450,000.
We can just say two
We
fifty.
would like you to cut 250.
Okay,
But it
okay.
won't be our decision.
Who it is.
Position.
Gotcha.
That's a
Okay.
school
No,
board
let's
just go as a
and
recommendation.
superintendent
Okay.
level decision.
We understand what you're saying, but I think when everything is presented as this, you
Right.
know, we would like 2 social workers and we would like 2 security
Well, that's what they're
personnel.
presenting in their
So
budget.
that's, what we're saying is, we don't I mean, personally, I don't necessarily wanna say no new positions, but I think maybe reeling it in might be a reasonable compromise.
Well, if we start to affect people and positions, that's way down the line to connections to safety and kids.
These are people that are not even on the property yet, though. We're not cutting anything, we're just not adding, right?
So we're not improving the safety, we're not
But what if
improving the
we improved
connections.
it by 50% instead of 100%? Right.
Well, we're not,
I wish you had
not
been
even
here for
sure
the
these
last meeting, Karen,
positions.
where we made these discussions about Mike Mascola wanted to
oh my
cut,
God.
cut this budget $5 million.
Sue, I watched the meeting, I'm sorry, my car broke down, I bought a new car over the weekend, I'm here.
It's like we're always playing catch-up to get
It's the
people to
one meeting I've
understand where
missed
we
this
at.
entire budget
Where we're
season,
at.
so please,
This is an important meeting,
I'm here.
but these questions would have been great at the last meeting when we were trying to decide how much we were gonna, or just rubber stamp it and go home.
Did you not hear that my car was broken down? I asked Sierra to give me a ride, she was not available.
But we're here now, so let's like,
So I'm finding this extremely rude, unnecessary
I
as
think
well.
your questions are behind us. The questions you're asking would have been perfect 2 weeks ago.
I hear you.
Or email me, or email Heather, or email Maria. And Dean, can we have a recess, please?
You are out of
hard time filling positions as it is.
That's
So
right.
if we did err a little bit on like a not 100% rate of, new positions, we could probably decrease this number a little bit just based on that.
Just one other thing to point out, like Sue's talking about the dollar value, I think that it's really the bottom line we have to look at, because if the school board decides that those positions are really necessary, they're gonna shuffle
That's right.
other monies around and
That's right.
and fund those. So
Whether we want 1 or 2
right, it
or
doesn't
14 social
matter.
workers, it won't matter. That's why I'm trying to get you to deal with the money. Not that they can't take the 400,000 and say, we're gonna take a little over here, and they can do a little of that after the vote, after a budget passes or doesn't pass, to juggle positions as needs come. Well, I'm not comfortable with this 2.5. I think it's too high to cut from this budget. I thought 5 was too high, but we were trying to look for a place to start.
I'm actually looking at this and thinking, wow, we could actually have gone up to 5. That's a lot under blue, that all of the sudden we were able to find $1.3 million really quickly. I'm looking at this and saying, wow, maybe Mike was right and we could have gone up to 5. Because I guess these notes don't take, like, they don't have adverse, not to have an adverse reaction on safety, connections with kids and learning. I guess I'm confused on how all of this happened in the last 2 weeks, that 1.3, I don't know. And I know we talked last meeting about how stuff was changing at the state level and yada yada, but that's a lot of money that all of a sudden changed at the state level in in 2 weeks. I don't know.
I would like to make a proposal that we keep the phone systems in, because to me that is a huge safety issue. And cut the new positions by $100,000.
You making that as a motion?
I would like to make that as a motion.
So, let's start from the basic budget number.
Are you
You're
doing just the
suggesting-
phone system, or is that incorporating
The
both
two-
yellow lines?
The two
The
district
intercoms.
back end and the door intercom, that equals 130.
Okay,
It's
I just
100.
wanna make sure both were in there, because I'd like to see the intercom upgrade happen.
I think it's just paramount for safety for
So you
our
wanna leave in-
children and our staff.
So do we take out 130 then from new positions?
And then we take 120 to make that, what's that, $300,000.
So take another 100 and something, 120,000 out of new positions.
Yep, to
Reduce-
make it 300,000 to put back in.
Oh, okay, wait, what, yeah. We haven't taken
Did you
anything
catch
out
that?
yet, so. These are just,
I'm trying
they
to
haven't
follow
taken,
you.
removed anything, so.
Well, no, but like decrease it by, so
You're
we're
keeping
gonna
the
keep
100.
it, so, oh my gosh, yeah, it's been a long day. We're gonna keep the 130,
Yep.
and then I would like to change the new positions
Right,
to be 320.
320. All right, so what's that add up now, Maria, if we kept, what would be the cut? What would be the bottom line cut? Add everything else back in. The blue, the tan, the, whatever that is, pink. But remove the tan, I get what you're saying, Liz.
So remove the 130 and leave the positions at
Mhm.
320.
Mm-hmm, so you're really taking out,
So that will be
130.
130 and
So now the
you're taking 120
Yeah,
out of the
so now the cut's not 2.5 million.
250, so that's 2.25, 2,250,000, because you're giving back $250,000.
So it'll be,
2.1 approximately in my head.
2.2 $2,250,000.
2.250 instead of 2.5.
Oops, I had it wrong.
Can I ask another clarifying question? I'm still stuck on this blue.
Yep.
This doesn't include the stuff from the summer, and I remember we talked about last meeting, it was in our notes, about the Maria, Escalante, Texas. There was something at this, current school funding amount for base adequacy, so that doesn't include any of that, so we could be getting more money back, but it would be the 2025.
Yeah, I don't
Okay, so that
think-
has
yeah.
nothing to do with, okay.
I don't think that's gonna happen with the 2025.
But that's
maybe
not part of
26.
this blue.
No,
Not at all.
no, no,
That's
no,
on the
no.
revenue side of
Okay.
things, and nothing
Okay.
like that is set in stone.
Yeah.
And to Justin's point too, that 858, yes, is a lot of money, but it's something that we literally just learn. Like the state does that a lot, like they throw a bill and when the bill passes, then it's all sudden, it just became reality.
Okay,
There
alright.
is no way for us to expect anything like that. It's not Kelly's fault, it's not anybody's fault or mis-budgeting. It's just one day the state tells you, we're gonna pay for this. Well, for us, that means
So if it wasn't
$800,000.
during budget season, then that would have been revenue. And we wouldn't have known, we wouldn't have had this conversation and I wouldn't have had to ask. So that would have been revenue.
So Kelly wouldn't have added
Gotcha.
to the tuition line,
Okay, alright,
basically. It wouldn't be an ask.
okay, that makes sense. I apologize for my last question on that, cause now I
No, it's
understand.
okay.
Okay,
I do enjoy these questions and I think they're super helpful for everybody to be clear and understand what's in the list.
So regarding the back-end phone system upgrade, when Ken was here, he said that the current systems were not malfunctioning, they were just aging, correct? And that
The
they
phone
were still
system-
fully functional.
Yeah, well, actually.
Are they now
My
malfunctioning?
phone today, this morning, all the phones that they say you were there. So I don't wanna.
He said they were 9 years old. I know most appliances last about 9 to 11 years these days. They have like a lovely built-in obsolescence. So I was curious if that was.
Like I said, this morning,
So-
our phones were working.
But I think one of the points is if we let the lifespan completely take its own course, then and I'm not arguing or anything, but then we find ourselves in a predicament where they don't work and we're on a basis where we have to like wait for new stuff. So getting to the point of waiting till something doesn't fail,
Yeah, it's not the
Is-
best idea.
yeah.
So Liz is suggesting that number now be, and I think we need it in the form of a motion, 2.250 to cut from the budget.
It's actually 2.240.
40.
You said you want to leave the positions at 320? Or
Or do you wanna,
you wanna take the 130 out of the positions? I wasn't sure what you were saying.
Well, actually, we can do the, like, the 130 and then the new position's 300 to
300?
make it, and then, I would also like to see the math and science stay in because it's really important.
so we're adding another 100,000 back in?
Yep.
So now, that's,
It's 100,
So that's
230.
2,120,000. If we leave the phones, the 130 for the two upgrades for technology, the
the books.
teaching materials for the students, and if we leave the positions at $300,000, that's 2,120,000.
One,
can we
two,
talk more about those books and how you
Yeah.
guys made that decision and what those books actually are?
In terms of the learning materials there?
Yeah, the like pinkish one. like-
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great decision to make. They're the newest of materials. They're mostly in the math and science domains. They're mostly concentrated at the elementary and middle school, although it does impact the high school and stuff, but there's really two sets of things. One is it's materials for the teachers to use as they're planning the instruction. And the second is there's also materials for kids to use hands-on in the classroom to access that instruction. So the reason it's there is it's simply the newest instructional material we were gonna go and try to provide and secure for our staff and kids. Not that we think it's not important or necessary.
Is this the program that I think it was Sandy was talking about?
Or Mark. what was it called? I forget what it was called, but it was a
Oh, some of your
hands-on,
kids
some
had
of
it in
iReady.
Pollard.
Yeah,
No,
some
it
kids
wasn't
had-
iReady.
These
in
materials
elementary
are
school.
directly aligned to the programs that we're working through with teachers and kids that are currently in place now. They support it. So if we're challenging teachers to think and plan and interact with this way, these are materials that help them do that, help them carry out the task that we've set aside about this is how we want to approach instruction in math and science.
Yeah, there was just, I'm gonna have to go back to my paper.
you're
It was
talking-
Sandy that talked about it.
Right.
And then each of the elementary
Elementary
schools
schools
talked
said
about
you
it
didn't
too,
find
and your
out.
kids had
That's
participated
that's a
in.
diagnostic tool, that's not a math
Okay,
and.
oh,
Yeah, that was at the elementary
Science
level.
resource.
Okay, that's, okay. So I
Separate
was
than
trying to, yeah,
Separate.
And these materials is what Pollard is using currently.
Mhm.
I don't think so. I
That's
think
not
these
what
are-
this
Is
is.
that a different, alright.
Are these materials that, speaking from like
Maybe
a
we didn't get a
teacher's
presentation.
perspective, that teachers could find online and they could finagle and no? Okay.
And part of the reason that we don't want people doing that is that we don't want just things happening rogue. Like we wanna have a developed system of how we approach things. And giving people common resources is really an advantageous way to do that.
Also to be consistent across the district, so we make sure that all of our elementary schools are using the same. And then the middle school program goes online with that instruction that is happening at the elementaries, which I think is great.
You said that. It's like you're an instructional person.
Look at me, learning more.
Alright, so now what are we down to 2.140? Is that what you've got?
120.
2,120,000.
20 to be removed. By leaving in
Not to-
books, leaving in the phone backup upgrades and only reducing the new positions to 300,000, not the 450,000. Are you ready to make a motion or have other thoughts? Well, then I'll make a motion that we
excuse me, Sue, I just had one other question. Just on the capital improvement line, how is that going to impact any improvement, CIP stuff, or?
So they came in with some CIP recommendations. For instance, one of the projects that Ken presented was fixing up the middle school, that bowl where our kids used to play in the dirt there. But they would put that on hold. It wouldn't mean that those projects would not get done or never get done. They're just gonna remove that amount of money, so again, either juggle it or wait until the next budget year.
So, I don't know if you remember, last year, this committee added $1 million capital to the budget. And the reason behind it was obviously we have our 9 aging buildings that have
Needs.
a lot of needs.
Right, I mean, I think traditionally, we have always had money, not nearly enough, but
That's
put
correct.
into that capital improvement line.
Absolutely.
So
5 years,
removing that,
Remember, that's capital projects,
right,
it's not repairs, right? It's different.
well.
It's capital projects.
Well, and how does that,
yes, you're right.
how would that work with the bond that we've got? If we didn't have this, could we draw on that bond that we have? Would the cap, this, I would think that we could use that for any,
So right now we have a list, when we did the assessment of all of our buildings, the assessment, the total assessment was about $150 million on capital improvements that need to happen in these buildings. Some of them are safety related, some of them are code, bringing the buildings up to code, some of them are structural, some of them just $150 million projects. So the idea of the 25 million was to, okay, let's look at this list and let's prioritize first on things that will realize the fastest savings. For example, lighting. So lighting gives you immediate savings. So that's the approach that the construction committee and the CIP have combined taken, like, okay, let's look at this $150 million list and narrow it down to 25 million that we can do, what we can do with 25 million. This 1.8 is more like on the, like fixing the bathrooms in the summer. Like making improvements in the bathrooms, changing toilets and broken sinks and doing improvement to the outside learning area or playing area at the middle school, the pavement. So all the pavement that we do, we have like a cycle for pavement that comes out of the CIP. Is more day-to-day, not day-to-day, but more smaller capital projects than changing all the HVAC systems at the high school or changing all the HVAC systems at the middle school or changing boilers or those are the projects that are included in that 25 that we're using the 25 million for. This one is more in a smaller scale, like the pavings and those projects. So
That's not reducing the entire capital improvement line, Julie. It's just removing 500,000. It's not all the money.
Right.
They
Which
get-
we now still, capital improvement still has more money now than it has in the past few years, even taking out that 500.
Yeah, Christine, I think about it like this, and Maria, I think will check my understanding, right? But there's a list of things that need to get done.
Yeah.
There's $1.8 million in capital. This would be taking 500,000 from that total with still a list to be done.
And last year when we were putting together a capital improvement, we had a little under $1 million to spend.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still making up some ground, I guess.
Yeah, so it's not cutting the entire line.
Now, Sue, CIP is kind of your baby. Are you comfortable with that 500?
I am.
I am too.
I mean, I don't wanna do that, but I'm,
Said so.
I'd rather do that than
When we first-
people.
When we first started the list, it was $1 million. And now it's at 500,000 here, so.
I don't think we should cut the capital improvement line.
At all, you wanna leave it as is?
Yep.
So add another, all right, so we're still discussing this. Liz was at 2.120. If you put back in the capital at 500, now what's the cut?
I have a question though, Julie, can you explain more why if the two people that are on the committee are like feel okay with it?
I just look at it as having something in reserve so that if something does happen, that there is some additional money. I think that if you don't have something set aside, it's kind of like when you work and they say you should have, a couple months' salary set aside for these unexpected things. I just think it's a good idea if we stop kind of putting it in there and having that accumulate. It's gonna be tougher, I think, to add it back in another year, and I think that there may be a time that comes that we really need it. And
So this 500,000 would just be effective for this budget,
Correct.
right? It's not that it would carry on to next year's budget. We would go back to the 1.8.
No, you will have to put it back and get voted.
But we'd have to put it back.
Sure, you put it back.
Well, you have to request it back and put it for voting, and if it passes, yes, if not.
So you look at the projects that are in the hopper for the, the 25, 26 year. And then decide, well, we lost some ground by removing
We
500,000.
would take that proposal back to the voters and they would have to vote that $500,000 back in.
I think
That's actually, I'm sorry, that's actually a very good question because it is a good to understand that all these cuts are cuts from the budget. In order to get any of this back into the budget, it will have to go, it will have to be requested and it will have to go out to vote.
Not one-time decision making here.
Right.
Right.
which I get, but now I'm also going back to our last meeting and these discussions that we were having and I'm just putting us back to 2 weeks ago where everyone on Facebook and all the pages and everyone was upset. Like now here we are 2 weeks later. And I think that isn't fresh in our minds anymore, but I just want to remind us of like who's back at home in our towns, who's having a tough time getting Christmas presents for people. And we were going to ask for 5 million and now we cut it down to 2.5 and now we're cutting this down. I'm just thinking about the people who are in my town who are it's very difficult right now. So if 500,000, I know that it's not a one time, I'm just thinking about where we were 2 weeks ago and trying to also remind us about the people who are in our towns who are struggling, and we're slowly adding it so that this doesn't actually do anything. So I just want to make sure we understand that.
It's tough because we also do have to be cognitive of the kind of votes we're gonna get in the future.
Right.
Because people are on lockdown and they're gonna be very, very hesitant to vote yes on things moving forward, and I don't blame them. You know, so we've gotta really make sure that if we're gonna part with this money, that long-term, it is the best. You know, so I sound a little wishy-washy right now, but you know, that's, I guess in my little mind, I wasn't thinking that, you know, this was a long-term cut, that this was a kind of one and done, we'd go back to where we were. And, you know, we are dealing with a lot of needs in these schools. And it's tough. It's tough, because I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's rough on a lot of people. I mean, there's no good situation.
And I think we had that conversation at our last meeting, but I also understand the purpose of having the social workers in our buildings, because those are the people that are going to get those kids through the day, every day. But it's, you know, this economy and this situation that our state is in is affecting everyone from the taxpayer all the way through the schools to our youngest kids. So we really need to be mindful of that and where we're making our cuts and where we're saying, you know, okay, we can live with putting this back in. Safety is the most important thing. So I'm all for putting the phones in. You know, I toss a curriculum out because the math and science, that's where our future is for these kids. This is where we're going. So if anything else, if we put those two things back in, and I'd be okay with that. Because it has to be about the kids and safety and the taxpayers. We have to, you know.
Chrissy, can you live with those projects being possibly put on hold for a year and a half, 2 years?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I would probably feel more confident in that, doing that, than not doing that.
So I feel too. It's, again, not what I wanna do, cause I'd like to see all these facilities fixed, but
I'd
listening
love a
to,
$5 million budget.
listening to what, our neighbors have said and, what Sierra is saying. I think we have to show some effort here. We really, really do. And it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it shows that
Right,
that we have made an attempt to look seriously at the request.
And then when we come back next year, we need to look at what the state has rolled out and approved. And, maybe do the same thing as we're going through the process this year. Because this is a learning process for everybody every year, because you never know what the state's gonna vote on, so.
And I'll remind you that we're meeting Thursday night
With the school
with
board.
the school board members It'd be interesting to hear what their perspectives are on all of this, if they're at a point where they're willing to, share their thoughts. They have the same feelings about their taxes and Facebook and.
Can we make a motion for what Liz
So,
was?
I
don't
would
know.
like, actually, sorry, I
No.
didn't mean to cut you off. What I'd like to do is go, do the phone system upgrade first to vote on and have it separated out. Only because I hear everybody's thoughts and opinions, so if we bundle it all in, it's either gonna all pass or all fail. So
I
I
agree.
think that would be
That's a
the
good idea.
wiser choice.
Okay.
So,
Entertaining a motion, whatever way you wanna do it.
okay, so I would like to make a motion to put back into our budget the district back-end phone system upgrade and the door intercom upgrades at the schools for a total of $130,000.
Second.
And we have a second from, was it Kevin? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, Liz and Karen. Any other discussion on that item? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, so that's back in. What's next?
I'd like to make a motion to add back in the elementary math and science books and the secondary math and science books for a total of $100,000.
A second for that? I'll second that. Any other comments or concerns about that one?
Now, this $100,000, it does cover all the schools within the district, right?
Correct.
Yes, that,
Every-
for the math and science program.
I thought so, but I just want a clarification.
Anything else on that topic? All right, call for a vote. All in favor of putting the, is it $100,000 for books at the elementary and secondary level? That's unanimous, so that's in. Liz, something else?
I'm thinking about the positions now. I got stuck.
Your number was 32, unless you're going back.
You said
320,
320.
sorry, not 32, my God, 320.
You said 300, so.
I don't know what I said at this point.
Because I think originally because it was at 450, and then we were gonna take away the 130, so it was gonna bring that down
Well,
to.
in my head, I added wrong,
Oh, I think I just.
cause I didn't take my phone out, I didn't
I
wanna
think
be
it's-
rude.
What did you wanna make that line?
I think I just wanna take $100,000 off. Hopefully by then we'll have an SRO.
So leave it
So I'd like to make a motion for the new positions line to be reduced by $100,000 and have it be 350, not
So, right, so-
$450,000.
The removal of 350. Right. Do you have a second for that?
The removal of 150,
A
not
hun- a
350.
Well, we're
Gonna
gonna
be 100.
100, okay,
Yeah, so we'd still have 350 in there.
okay.
so taking out of the budget
Just-
350.
You're taking
No,
three.
we're
No?
taking 100 out. No, oh my God, this is.
Yeah, so what's
Because
the
this
cut
is
you wanna
taking
make?
out of the budget $450,000.
So we're taking, I wanna
She
reduce
wants
that
to reduce that.
to $350,000.
So you-
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
So you want the cut to be 350,000.
That means we only giving $100,000 to hire new people.
No, that's not what I want.
So we
I
want 350,000.
No, the opposite.
No, oh my
You want
God.
the opposite.
So this is
You want the
cutting.
I don't know what I want anymore.
I just
Look at
wanna
that.
make
Such
sure
a-
that
These are already
everybody's
reductions.
understanding. Yes, these are reductions.
I'm gonna just withdraw my whole motion and someone else can do it.
The other two are clear, we understand those are
Yes.
not coming out. So now, is there anything else? So now, without the we're cutting 450,000 out for new positions. Liz doesn't want it to be that high. Am I right, Liz?
Correct.
You want it to be,
I don't know.
So I'm gonna make a motion to, but I want it lower, so that's not
Go
gonna
ahead,
be the
make a
same
motion.
motion. Well,
she didn't really get a motion, she didn't get the motion.
I know,
out,
but
she
she-
didn't seconded, so.
cause in my head, I would make it 230,000.
A cut of 230.
Because that's how much the phones are and the books
Yeah.
are.
Instead of cutting 450.
So I would just,
So you
Take
you
from
wanna
the
keep the number
450.
at 2.5 million.
right,
Because right now, based on
2.2.
No, no, no.
$100,000 increase, that means we'd be cutting a total of 2.28, right?
No,
So I'm only asking
If
for
we
200.
kept those two and cut another,
So I wanna,
now I don't understand my, is
I wanna
that right?
cut-
Sierra, I know.
I wanna
That's
cut
what I-
230 because we're like, instead of the 450, I want to do 230, so we're putting in
what you're cutting on the other two lines.
270, right?
So if you do that, it will be a total cut of $2,050,000 instead of 2.5 million.
Yeah, I think that is right.
2,050 million.
2,050,000.
So let's see if we can get this in a motion.
So wait, hold on, I wanna make
I
sure
know
that I
how.
understand your motion, so 450.
220.
No, instead of,
So it would be
instead of.
220.
You want to 230.
Yes. And so it'd be
So
220.
you want the
Yes.
deduction to be
220.
220.
Yes.
220
220.
Instead of
or 230?
Instead of
Correct.
450, so the
Correct.
red line will be $220,000.
Okay, I
Yes.
thought it was 230.
That's how much money
Yeah.
So if
will-
it's 220, then it's 2,040,000 that we're totally cutting from the budget.
How is that possible if
my
we
numbers aren't.
do the sum of, that's 230 that's put back in.
So my my motion would be that we're still at 2,500,000 because
Right.
that's why I'm confused.
No, you can't do that.
No, then you have to increase it,
Oh.
but the new positions
already-
are only 450,000,
Oh.
they're not
It's
680,000.
so backwards. Okay.
Cutting 2.5 million.
The same way
I,
as you.
yes.
Right now,
that's
we're
fine.
not cutting 2.5, we're cut less, cause Liz made a motion to put those other two things back
Oh, right, because
Yeah,
we're
you with me?
going the opposite direction.
in. Going the opposite direction, which.
It's really confusing.
It is confusing.
How do you do this job every day?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Stop on by, we'll sit with you for a little bit.
Anytime you wanna come over.
130 plus
Stand up with me.
100 minus, yeah, so we're taking away. $230, I'm still at that same number, or 230.
Okay, so explain this to me, because I'm right there with you. So if we have $2.5 million, right? And we add $230,000 back into it. Right?
Take away.
Or we
and
take away,
230,000.
but we would still add it.
No, you don't add it,
No,
you
you
take
have
it
to
away
take it out
because
of that sum.
you are reducing the budget by 2.5 million.
Yeah.
If you're telling me, no,
Right, right,
I
right,
want you to do
right.
this
So you're taking that
130,000
away.
in work,
But yes, you're right, you're taking that away, but essentially you're putting it back in.
on the budget, not on the on the 2.5. I'm putting it back in the $90
She's
million
putting it-
budget.
Right. So,
So this exercise, you guys are telling us, okay, I want you to remove $2.5 million from your $90 million or $85 million budget, right? This 2.5, now you guys are telling us, that 130, no, we
Right.
want you to do that
Right,
work.
we put that
So if you
back.
take the 2.5 and you subtract
That's right.
130,000,
so now the
or
cuts on, right?
230,000,
So
sorry.
it's 230, yeah.
So then you took the
So that is
100 back.
2,270,000.
202,070,000, okay, I hit 80, but yeah.
And now you're talking about these positions. What
I
do
just
you
wanted
want
the
the
position-
cut
I
to
just-
be?
just wanted $230 to get put back. But I don't know
You
how to
can't
say
do
it.
that because the positions are 450, you cannot.
I know, like,
More.
so it would be, the motion would be for 200 and I don't know how to say it, so I'm where Liz was and now I don't know. So I don't know how to say it. I just, if we're gonna put the phones and the books back, then can we take that $230,000 out of the new positions? So
It's
it's,
a
You can
200
because the new positions are only 450,000, they are not 680,000.
right, so that's what I meant. So can we go down to, so can those that you're, oh, now I get
I
it.
just saw a
Catching up?
light bulb.
And now I get it.
But I mean, it's only 450 that they're requesting in new positions,
get it.
I can
Just
only
cut that line in
40.
half to 225, right?
Sure.
So now it's 2,045,000.
And now you got, by cutting it in half, you're still coming down from the 2.5 million.
That's right, so
Right.
now
Not
it's at
going up.
2,045,000. So you're not cutting all those positions.
And can I
you're cutting
make
about
a
half that.
position to cut, I mean, can I make a motion to cut the new positions by half?
That's correct,
225.
225.
Phew.
So now you're at 2,045,000.
45,000.
And I did that with old standard math.
Well, I think
On
it's
a
still not
piece of
exactly what I
paper, 'cause
wanted,
I can't
but
do it in my
it's
head
fine.
anymore.
Okay.
So is that your motion,
I guess that's my
Sierra?
motion, yes.
Okay, Sierra's motioning that we bring that red line down to
Down to-
225.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Trustee seconding,
Yikes.
any other discussion? Remember, it won't be in our purview to decide what the positions are. It's the school boards and the administration would give recommendations, and the school board would make the decisions. And just like Julie says, they can always juggle things around.
So to clarify, the decrease, instead of $450,000, the decrease would be $225,000.
225.
Correct. Right.
Okay, and clarifications? Not a call, no? You're shaking your head, Sam.
Like, kind of, I think this is fine. I think that's what I want.
So that'll make the entire cut that we're looking at 2,045,000 from this proposal, of the proposal. All right, all in favor of Sierra's motion of 225? Unanimous? Okay, now we're back to a cut of 2,045,000. So we need a motion to either accept this, now that we've got this far.
I'll make a motion to accept the decrease of 2,045,000.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? 4 opposed, 1 abstaining, 0. 410. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, what happened? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 6 of us. Can I do that vote again just to make sure the numbers are right? All in favor of the cut?
5-0.
5, 1, 0, right?
0.
You're still 1. Okay, 5, 1, 0, sorry. Okay, back to our agenda. Anything else to come before this? Give you any other business?
I would just like to say thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
I understand how difficult this task was and thank you for respecting our voices as much as we try and respect yours.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Liz.
I agree. Thank you.
Talking about Thursday night, are we gonna be here Thursday night? This is our meeting night. We are hosting the school board.
Okay.
I believe a few of them have accepted our invitation. And it's supposed to be a mutual, when Liz was on the board, they used to do this a lot, or they did it annually, to just have a coming together, because we never meet. All we have is Mark, who would report back and forth and carry our wishes back and forth or our recommendations. So this gives us a chance to hopefully see some other faces and hear some other ideas from them.
What do they do?
I'm hoping the discussion would be things around the warrant, because the warrants are theirs. And we don't know what the bottom line figure is. We know what our bottom line figure is, but we don't know, what they're proposing for their warrants. So we have not voted on the entire budget. Do you want to do that tonight? Because we have one more meeting scheduled, which is after Christmas.
Could we vote on it after we hear what the school board has to
We have like
say?
a sub-meeting, an after
Like a
Sure.
after meeting?
After we hear some input? Sure, that's perfectly. All right, so let's put that on the agenda that we'll hold, I mean, they're certainly welcome to stay, but we would plan to make our final vote
That
on,
night.
on the proposed budget that night, the
So then-
14th,
We would not be meeting that week of Christmas vacation.
unless something happens.
That would be great,
Yeah.
because I don't think I would be there.
So I have an off-topic question, but regarding the meetings. So we used to be on the app, the TRSD app. It used to have the meetings. How come they're not on there anymore? Do you do that?
No, I just keep the calendar out, no.
Yeah. The school board meetings and the budget committee meetings aren't on there anymore.
Did I also go on the calendar?
And they used
Supposed to be posted, the meetings are posted, so.
They're in the website, I don't know about the.
See, I've always used
you
the
use the-
calendar on the app because that's where I do sports and it's like a one-stop shop for me.
There was a change in the calendar this year, so I'll check into that and see if there's
Like Milkman's in there, concerts are, and actually not even all the concerts are in there.
okay. I think it could be just something to do with the old time and new time.
Yeah, I was just curious, it's not an issue or
Yeah.
anything, I just
Oh,
was,
that's we did it.
I thought I'd ask.
Christie, I don't look at that stuff, so I just know it's
So
posted.
like here's like, so.
All right, if nothing else, we're adjourned, we will see you Thursday night, I hope.
Thank you.
There's a construction meeting.
Sue, is there anything I can do on my